Welcome to IRL Alpha. My name is BeaconBot and I'm your host, and we're here to talk about all things NFT and Web3. However, we're not here to lecture you. We're here to actually have a conversation with you. So if you're in the audience, you got a hot take, got an opinion, raise your hand. We'll get a microphone into that hand. That microphone is not just for us in the studio. It's for the people at home. If you can see, we've got Twitch chat out there already trolling me, trying to get to change audio settings, which I will not fall for. If you're in the Twitch chat, you got an opinion, just type it out. We'll read it for you here, okay? This is an interactive conversation. The only thing we ask for you is no shilling your project, okay? No asking Jeff for free shoes. We're here to have a conversation, okay? This is not your one opportunity to get something off, okay? So, with that, before we get into this absolutely stacked panel.
Wait. Can everyone look under their chair right now?
Yeah. Don't do that. Sorry, Twitch chat. Sorry, Twitch chat. Yeah. We've been fighting over these chairs all day right now. Everyone's trying to sit kind of close this time here. This whole thing is actually possible because of one other person right there, the person who takes care of the audio, the video, every plant that's alive is because of him. Every single vibe that's curated, that's him. When there's art on the walls, it's him. That's Trick right here. Go. He's also the smoothest pad master in the West. Show him what you got. Boom. Yeah. Beautiful. So if you see me turning around in the show, that's just producing, okay? So back again, so very, very excited. The man with the most jobs in all of Web3, adventuring, working for 90cc, Admit One, Soho XYZ, and is on the NFT Now Community Council or Community Squad here. Adventuring, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for having me again. I'm super excited to be here.
Beautiful. And this is honestly surreal. I can't believe this happens. We have an absolute legend on the stage, graphic designer, fashion designer, founder of Staple Visual Communication Agency, all the way back in, what was that, like 97? 97, okay? When you talk about making culture, he's actually made culture. Done more collabs with major brands than any person ever. I'm talking Nike, New Balance, Coca-Cola, Hello Kitty, stuff that you would dream of working with, and was early in Web3. We were doing this meetup for a year and a half. We were talking about you a year and a half with MetaPigeon. So still early to new culture, and now has other projects too. Stapleverse and Sapiens coming out, which are doing still innovative stuff in blockchain. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. This is amazing. This is so fucking cool, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. And truthfully, the only reason we got Jeff here is because of the most hype man in all of NFTs, Threadguy, fresh off an announcement that he's running for the ApeCoin Council here, ready to push his platform.
The vote is open! Yeah.
He showed up here with a suitcase and said, "Hey guys, check it out. When 8 o'clock, I'm hitting a plane." So he's going places right now. How you doing, Thread?
I'm incredible, Beacon. Shout out to everyone for popping out. Second time on the panel. Looking forward to it.
Beautiful. And so happy off of a fresh new drop, still not arrested by the Chinese government. Patrick, back again. How are you doing? New piece right here.
I'm good.
He's good. Okay. They haven't caught you yet. You should be doing better than that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any day. I'm happy just being out of jail.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So let's just do it because we like to sometimes do the news, and today we were all watching one thing. If you go on the timeline, there's 1,000 variations of this goose right here. We were all going to see how much thing was going to go for. People have been saying it's going to trigger the bull run, NFT's going to be back, and it went for a pretty picture right here. So if you guys don't know, this is a piece by Dmitry Cherniak from a project called The Ringers, and there's one piece that we decided looks like a goose. And because it looks like a goose, we've said that's worth the most, right? And what happened is a actual investment firm acquired it and then went bankrupt and had to put it up for auction. And that auction happened to go today to Punk 6529. And so it's a huge sale, but already the debates in the timeline are happening like, is our NFTs back? Is this going to change everything? Are we buying art now? Shitcoins are dead. So Patrick, curious, what do you think?
I think it's good for digital art. I mean, whether or not you're into the goose, like the magic fact that an algorithm created a thing that looks like a goose, like, okay, whatever. But like the fact is somebody like bought that for that amount of money. I think that's a really good sign for digital art. So yeah, I'm optimistic about that, especially right now when crypto like kind of took a hit the last couple of days. So yeah, I think it's positive. I mean, it's not going anywhere. So
like Threadguy, you're not really an Art Blocks MF, right? I hate to say you in your spaces. You don't mention them often here, you know? Does this is it going to make you talk about Art Blocks, look at it more, or, you know, does this affect anything?
You know, I just wanted to ask you, Began, are you sure it's a goose or is that a pigeon?
No, we actually,
Whoa.
actually, it could be pigeon. There's actually is a debate of whether it's goose or pelican, and you can actually add pigeon into that, and we can start working on that. It's actually not a bad way to go. But yeah, curious. I mean, does this mean anything? Does this like move the culture?
I mean, we'll see what happens as a result, but I will say just on sort of like the D-Gen spaces side where we admittedly don't talk about Art Blocks a lot, like the excitement is there, the energy is there, and it's really the topic of the conversation. So hopefully there's some momentum. It'll follow with the market with volume, and I'm looking forward to covering it.
Yeah, so there is one debate that's been happening though, because the problem is the person who bought it, Punk6529, he already owns all the art. He's already the richest guy, and he has the best art collection. So someone's like, the greatest art collector bought more of the greatest art. It doesn't really do anything for people outside of the culture. Like, I think a lot of us wanted to see someone new come in. You know what I mean? Who is a brand new person that would buy this, that would make us move? Like, yeah, did this even hit your radar, Jeff?
It did not.
Well,
That tells you. That just tells you. You know why?
Yeah,
Because
did not.
6529 bought NFTs yesterday, and the day before, and the day. So
Yeah.
Well, that's the biggest issue with the auction houses right now anyway, is they're not actually marketing this to anyone, marketing successfully to anybody outside the space. You know, they keep recycling our work back to us at a huge buyer's premium. So I don't know. Like, you know, like this is good. This is newsworthy. Maybe this will attract some people on the outside, but it doesn't really feel like, other than just like a news hit, this is really pushing the space that much forward.
yeah,
It's good though. It's good for the space, but it needs to go beyond sort of the echo chamber, right?
We also got to
Well
look how
said,
long
yeah.
we've been in the space, right? Art Blocks has been around for 2.5 years. And I was at a chat with Snowfro and Mark Glimker, whose father was Arnie, who started Pace. And he specifically said when he got Pace off the ground, there was literally a rotation about 15 to 20 different buyers that kept spending all the money for over a decade. So it didn't really expand bigger than that. Wow. And when you're looking at being in the blockchain for 2.5 years now, putting out NFTs, even the 4 or 5 guys that we have fighting over this stuff, I think bodes well for the space.
I mean, anytime you see a big old number, it's good. I do say Aventuring had the greatest point of all time, which, I mean, dude, Punk6529 literally fumbled like the biggest meme of all time. He screwed up, so I mean, just
He did. I mean, it should have been 6.9 for sure.
that's ridiculous. Right? Like, it's $100,000 for a joke. It's totally worth it. He's got the money.
He should just give up $100,000.
He could have
to,
released one more
Sotheby's.
meme.
Well, technically, he had that tweet was wrong. So once you hit over $5 million, the buyer premium got dropped a little bit, so it came out to like
a discount.
$6.215
The
million.
$1 million discount.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys
you
don't
had to jump
know
up
you get a
another
little
700.
discount.
Little
If you do
discount.
5 million, not
Yeah.
bad, not
I
bad.
mean, Began, what do you think about the narrative that 6529 buying is negative?
I mean, there's like negative and there's no impact, right? And so I don't think it's definitely not negative because he's a person who's invested a lot in art. And if I know, like, if Jay Leno starts selling his cars, I'm like, maybe cars aren't a good investment anymore, right? You want top collectors to continue loving their collections because a lot of times single tentpoles do hold up all markets. The Pokemon card market, 2 people leave and boom, those prices are coming down a lot. And a lot of different industries are like that. It's just, I want to see someone who doesn't already have conviction show, I got conviction. It would have been an easy win for anyone to enter the space right now who does care about art and everyone would say, oh, you really believe what this is about, let's do it.
Those people don't exist, and that's okay. But the history books are still going to show that it sold for that amount of money because anytime you see a piece of Chinese porcelain that breaks a record or an old Picasso or Van Gogh, we don't know who bought it. A lot of times these are anonymous buyers anyways, so we don't know if it's the same person. It's at the end of the day, it's how much it sold for that matters.
Yeah, to Rosenbaum's point, it's a big number in the midst of a bear market. Yeah. That's news. We're talking about it. That's an impact. We're literally arguing about it.
We are a private group of NFT nerds, though. I hate to tell you, we're like
new people.
Put the goose on Twitter, and I bet you it's trending.
Yeah, maybe. Okay,
What
well,
did it
cool
do
if
for
it
his
was.
career, the artist career?
Yeah, for Dimitri.
Yeah.
I mean, so for
Did all of his art go up?
yeah.
I mean, this already holds the floor didn't change much. If the floor is 42 ETH right now, it's what it was the last few weeks to last month. I mean, it's steadily held its position as far as the floor goes. And he's already a very notable generative artist.
But no, he did $200,000 in ringer sales, right? In like the last couple of weeks, like kind of leading up to this, like people were buying it, thinking
Well,
like
we
it's gonna
had
pump.
Grails 1, and like I think we did have a bit of an Art Blocks push because we did have $1 million plus Fidenza sale in the first Grails auction.
And last week.
And last week as well. Yeah, just
On
in the middle of
OpenSea.
just in the middle of the week randomly.
See, I was gonna say, look at that real quick. Click that 562 right there, Jerry. That's a great buy. 45 ETH right there. That looks
Yeah,
like
it
a
looks
fish.
like- looks like
Come
an
on now.
airplane.
Let's call it
Yo.
the fish and let's make some money. Put it
No,
at
no,
auction.
no.
That's
That,
the,
that looks
B-
like
the
Spirit
B2 bomber.
Airlines.
A B2 bomber.
Yeah.
Well, it's not
That's
bad
the
either.
bomber.
They got rugged.
I kind of want to ask Rosenbaum a question. Like, are you surprised that there's been not a ton of volume after that sale?
No, I mean our box has been in a slump since they had their bull run of 21, right? It's been a slow decline down. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of people that came in and they're disgruntled at the fact that projects are minting and then dropping below floor. But that's really because the flippers and the degens came in and kind of perverted the entire art collecting base. It started off very organically and wholesome. Yeah, right.
That's
I
right.
mean,
Well, no, I said that's
we're not
actually-
complaining if that happens.
Well,
right?
no, this is it's actually one of the best things like to actually have Jeff here for this because you've seen this before, right? People come in for the hype to make money, and then if it doesn't work out, you got a lot of angry people. And like, how do you balance like? With sneakers, you can put them in people's hands. This you're always selling. Like, how do you balance this?
Yeah, it's also potentially terrible for the artist too. Sometimes when artists are developing their career and they're selling work for like 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, and then like a whale comes in or a group of whale comes in and says, let's decide to like pump this artist up and go 50,000, 150,000. That actually can mess up the career of the artist if they can't produce and continue that sort of artwork momentum, you know?
Totally.
So I hope that's why I asked that question, because how does he go from like 200K, 500K?
Well, Dimitri's
500K,
okay.
right?
That piece did sell for $6 million last year as well.
Okay.
Then when you look at the entire Art Blocks collector base, the whole collection of artists, there's really only 3 series that are firmly established that are not going to fail. It's Squiggles by the founder Snowfro, Fidenza by Tyler Hobbs, which I'm sure you heard of,
Yep.
and then we've got Ringers by Dimitri.
Well,
Those are the 3 I think hands down.
The other
that-
thing too, right, is nothing. Like, the result never really changes much about it's how much beyond or below kind of the expected value the result ended up being, and I think most people are kind of thinking this would go for about $5 million. So what it went for is great. It's a slightly positive result on top of what the expectation was. So you should expect to see the floor and kind of the collection like realize that slight positive result. But I think people were expecting it to go for this. So the reason why the floor just didn't go crazy, you just see a ton of new Ringers buyers, is because everyone already priced that in. That was already kind of baked into the expectation with the collection. So that was priced in over the last couple weeks with the whole narrative and the whole news story about this thing going up for auction and how much it would go for.
A little insider information though to keep an eye on the Ringers over the next year or so is, which is different than say Fidenza, is Fidenza is really well dispersed amongst collectors. They're in a lot of different hands, and because this was such an early Art Blocks project, the collector base was very limited, which means there's a handful of people that own a really large portion of the collection. So the ownership spread is not quite as vast. So it's gonna be interesting to see what these people do as they want to cash out over the next year or so.
Yeah, I think the one last like really crazy thing is
Actually,
like
I wonder what it is. Can we scroll up to the top?
Yeah. We infused value though into this particular piece just by naming it and giving it a story, right? It does look like a goose. That is not worth $6 million, right? But it's the legend of the goose and it growing and who owns it, and oh my God, now it's owned by 3 Arrow Capitals. They're bankrupt. Well, it's like it's amazing to me because I think a lot of times we're looking at the art and it's like there's aesthetics, which we do care about, right? But you can infuse story into anything and like
I mean, it's an icon. It's a symbol. I mean, last year at Art Blocks Weekend in Marfa, like Dimitri took a keychain with the goose on it and he hid it in Marfa and had people there go out looking for it, and they found it like miles away from the town, like hanging on a chain link fence out in the middle of nowhere in Texas, and it was just like, yeah, they love it.
But that's why the goose is worth money, because the founder of Art Blocks is hiding goose chains in a random town in Texas. You know, it's like you don't need to like just make. Here's the most aesthetic art. It's like you can like make art and then it's. I mean, he promoted the goose. We said we liked the goose and then we promoted it.
Yeah,
so.
but back to like the original thing, like and I think this is positive for the space. I mean, it is like we basically fight with the fact that do pixels have value? I mean, we grew up and pixels were free, right? So now we have to convince people that you have to buy pixels. to sustain this as an artist, and we've done a decent job of that, right? So I think it's positive. This is very expensive per pixel, so I think well done.
First of all, I can't wait till back in my day, pixels were free. Okay, no. So still keeping kind of an art, I think an interesting little thing that happened here is Proof announced that they are collaborating with Bodo. So first of all, Proof, 1,000 person, now their art collective focused on that. Bodo is a AI project that came out actually quite a while ago before the big AI boom, and the idea is that if you buy the project, you get tokens, and you use your tokens to vote on what the AI art generates. And then whatever AI art's generated, they mint that one, and then you get some portions of the money, and it grows the project, and you're helping a community train an AI model. It was hot for a minute, and then as all things, people got a little less interested over time. Proof, having a similar problem, they decided to collab together. So I think it's pretty interesting. Don't be laughing already, okay? This is, I am.
It's two failing projects working together, right? That's what you're
You
saying.
could say failing.
Damn, that's hot take right there.
I didn't say that. Okay? You put words in my mouth. Right, no.
Hey, yo, shout out Ryan Carson, man. Ryan Carson in the building back there.
Look under your chair.
That was not on. That sound was not on purpose for that. That was amazing. Okay. No. So right. Are they unsuccessful? We don't worry about it. They're not at their all-time highs. No big deal, right? But it is two projects that are continuing on. Bodo, however you say it, did come up with something that's really interesting. It's humans voting on AI and seeing where it goes. That's hilarious. I can't wait to watch it for 10 years. And there's going to be a story like, it went through a really dark phase for a year, and the AI was, doing this. It's going to be funny. And then Proof is collaborating with big artists, right? So in my mind, you can say failing brand this or that, right? Every brand isn't always on top than the most hyped brand. And I think sometimes saying, okay, great, there's big Bodo fans, there's big Proof fans, let's find who the mix are, and that's a net positive.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. I just, Kevin Rose is unsavory in my opinion, and so this is yet another, I don't know.
We're
Bodo
trying to
sounds
get him
cool.
on the show
Sounds
next
great.
week, so thank you for that here. Here, Jeff. Jeff, you've done so many collabs here, right? Yeah. How do you think when you're are you looking at rising and falling stars of who you collab? You're like, ooh, their last collab was good. We'll do it again, or
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
For sure.
darn. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I felt it when you said two struggling brands just trying to get together and see what kind of spark they could manifest, right? But yeah, I mean, I could see it. I mean, it's cool. I like this project a lot. I still think AI generated art, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts on are too, but I still think this is very, very bleeding edge, because now you're sort of removing the hand and the skill of the artist, and you're just letting words and context sort of dictate what the thing looks like.
Yeah, totally. It's funny because also all the Bodo art now looks like vintage AI art already. We're like, that's what you're making? Oh, we're way better. It's it's like digital art in the early days. Every new Photoshop, you're like, oh my God, it looks so outdated. So I don't wonder how long that lasts until we hit a point here.
Right.
But yeah, Threadguy, what about you?
I mean, I wanted to ask you, Began, because this is interesting, and I feel like I haven't seen the level of intersection between blockchain and AI that I kind of was expecting at this point. I want to ask you, Began, do you feel like we've seen sort of NFTs and AI intersect as much as you think it should have? I mean, at this point,
and we're nowhere near this. I mean, this is the thing too. Is we were some early, my crew. We were all early making AI art on Discord all night. Terrible AI art. We were watching it evolve and get better and better. And it's one of the things. If you're involved in it and you look at all of the art from the past 5 years, you're like, I was making that, right? Everyone was using a similar set of tools, and so it doesn't there's not that much that differentiates it. Even early, I mean, I like Claire Silver a lot and want to keep collecting her work, but if I look at her early work, I'm like, I know what you're doing right there, which kind of removes some of the magic of it. So we haven't hit a point where people can even infuse their own styles. Right now, if you want to infuse your own style, you got to be a nerd. You got to be a scientist who's tuning a model. We got some of those nerds here, but it's really hard to do. So I think we're nowhere near where it needs to be. We're starting to get there now. I mean, we're already seeing projects do it in fun ways. Azuki has an AI bot. Forgotten Rune Wizards have an AI bot. Let's see, who else? Projects are integrating it in cool ways, and I think that's the way to do it.
We have one in our Discord, too.
Oh, nice. Ordnauts. Yeah, right. Boom. Okay, nice. Yeah.
I
my bot's gonna fight your bot.
Yeah, I think it's got a couple things going for it, right? I think obviously we're having AI bots manage Discords now. AI is basically going to be running the show outside of art in a lot of really significant ways. So if art is supposed to be topical, relevant, and actually important to society, I feel like touching on AI or using AI is going to guarantee you're actually capitalizing on this very, very interesting relevant period historically, and I feel like you do yourself some favors doing that. That being said, the aesthetics are just getting commodified more every single day. It is not impressive to create something that looks like something because everybody can do it. So how do you differentiate that? You know, at least Botto was like, cool, we're going to like have a DAO that runs this. That's kind of their concept. And I think that's the thing. It's going to drive everyone back to concept. If you're not doing something conceptually interesting with AI, you've got nothing because the aesthetics don't matter.
Yeah, but the concept is almost like a one-hit wonder, like a one-line joke. Yeah. It's like great concept, but 3 years from now, can you live off of like just being a great concept?
No.
Facts. I think so.
You got to be like a Mischief, and you're just like gimmick.
Yeah,
I love Mischief too. Huge fan.
Not to bring back 6529. There was like a tweet that I pulled up from a couple of days ago that I kind of liked what he said. He said, those who had pre-AI activity from their addresses, buying, selling, minting their own NFTs, are going to be happy about it later. We are probably in the last remaining period now that is pre-scaled AI, which I agree with.
I agree. But is he saying that's a good thing or a bad thing?
No, he's saying I think he's saying it's a good thing.
This
that,
is like primitive
the people that are like
seeing.
working with AI now and collecting AI art now will be happy about it later, before it scales on. I think that goes along with what Patrick's talking about. I mean, I think as AI gets better, it'll maybe be harder to differentiate yourself from other people.
You ever go watch like an old movie with like the original CGI? It's terrible.
Oh, I love it.
Terminator 2 holds up, but all the rest of it is absolutely terrible art. Yeah. And I'm worried that that's gonna, like, you look at a lot of the renders, like a lot of the Blender C4D stuff, like even from 2 years ago, you're like, whoa, that's dated already, right? Aesthetics don't win in this space because, especially with AI, you look back a couple years from now, unless you had a really good story for why you made it, it's gonna look terrible. And that, if you're relying on aesthetics, doesn't age well. So I think for something like this, like Botto's cool idea, but again, I agree with Jeff, like kind of a one-hit wonder, like time to move on. I would not be too optimistic about something like that long term.
The analogy you gave about watching an old sci-fi flick and seeing the special effects, you know how now when you watch like, you know, a Streetcar Named Desire or like Citizen Kane, it's like genius level filmmaking. I wonder if 20 years from now you watch Back to the Future 1 and you're like, look at this classic filmmaking, you know? And then so if you look at the art world, I wonder if, like, to that tweet's point, like, is this AI art going to be the original caveman drawing of AI 20 years from now?
That would be The Lost Robbies by Robbie Barrett. If you know, you know.
Yes, but I was saying for the AI thing, it is like really interesting because like right now, everyone who is like making and entering it, like you have to be working with the tool makers directly. This is not a thing people do where typically it's like, what do you do? Okay, I'm not inventing paint and paintbrushes, or I'm not in programming Photoshop, but all the top AI people have some nerdy friend somewhere who's like, I got the new stuff for you, which is that level of like collaboration is awesome. But like, just like with early tech, like early 3D stuff, you know, if you're working with the tech nerds, it's gonna be dated a little bit because they're gonna wait till it's a perfect package tool for everyone and like things will move less. So yeah, do you want to be part of that? I love early internet aesthetics. So I kind of like stuff that doesn't look good, I guess you could say. Like, actually, could you pull up, go to Twitter and go to search Stevie P. This is the funniest website ever. This is the world's, Stevie IEP. Yeah, that should be able to. Amazing. But this is one of the things, if you look at these websites, people are going to be like, these are, do dopamine machine, and you'll get it here. But like, people who are actually trying to make AI art that is meant to evoke it is bad, right? So, fingers are messed up. I want to see the bad fingers. That's funny. It makes me inspired back then. I want to see the weird double faces because what is back there is, what makes it good. So,
on that, like there is a whole AI aesthetic, right? Those videos that are like blurry and dreamlike. Only AI can make that, and so that's AI art, And I feel like everything else is just a mimic of some existing aesthetic, but that is like only in that medium.
Well, I love the fingers, I love the faces, but the thing is how are you actually? And I think you commoditize the aesthetics, then what do? You're going to force people to drive towards narrative, and I think that you're going to see the space mature a lot in a very short amount of time because the people that understand that art has to have a narrative will thrive, and the people that are kind of buying what they think looks cool are going to have a really hard time, especially moving into this AI era.
I know that this is the guy who did Defacement. right?
Yes. Stevie P. Here, just click this website
Okay,
real
I
fast.
got
You got to click it really fast. This top link, and then just for half a second, because there you go. That's perfect to me. I look at that and I'm like, that's peak graphic design. Here, scroll a little bit, and you can see, right? And other people are like, what are you doing? You're making, but it's like the reason why I like this is because websites look like this for a long time. So I like this inspires me. Maybe it's nostalgia, but it's like I think that some things like can look raw. This is amazing.
No,
Yeah,
this is
dope.
amazing. This
Super
is
dope.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's dope. This is going to be Art Blocks curated, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know. I'll be trying to get it here. Jeff, so for you work with so many new techs, even right now with NFTs. You know, you're already doing a 6511, which we talked about 2 weeks ago. Like
6551.
Sorry, 6551.
ERC 6551.
There we go. See,
I had it took me a long time to figure that out. Too.
I hear audio right there from Trick here. So you're already using new tech all the time here. Have you done anything with AI yet?
Just still playing. With it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Not released anything.
So how do you?
I'm also I'm in the stage right now of seeing if there's viability around it. I mean, it's viable as a forum, but for my art practice, if there's viability.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, how do you decide that, right? Because even right now, when you went to NFTs, you must have the exact same process at one point where you're like, we're looking at the tech, we're trying to figure out what to do. Okay, now we're into it, and you were way early.
Yeah.
So AI, we think it's way early. What do you? How do you decide that?
It's a mix between the tech and the culture. And one thing that concerns me that I noticed today is that the technology updates and changes so fast that the mass adoption and the culture can't quite catch up. And with each advancement in the technology, you're losing more people. So the analogy I have in my head is kind of like if you're scaling a mountain and you're like a pack of like 50 people, and you know, there's some people that are more fit and know how to scale the mountain, and so they're leading the charge, and the pack gets smaller, and then people keep pushing forward, which on the surface, in the headline, it's like, great, another advancement. We advanced yet again. Chat GPT 6 is now here, you know, like, but you're diffusing the crowd, and you're making you're making the whole culture weaker. Everything's a weaker link because you're all sort of spread out. There's like now 2 guys all the way advanced, 2 guys trying to figure that out, 12 people trying to play catch up, 18 people just like saying, fuck this shit.
A couple scammers.
Yeah, scammers, fucking scammers.
Always
you know?
need that.
And I think that part is not good for the whole culture. So when I decide, to answer your question, am I going to hop into this or not? My thing is, will all 20 people on the trail with me understand it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And 6551 token bound accounts, when I sort of was stumbling upon that with Future Primitive and Benny, I was like, I get the application for this, and I think like my people will as well. And you nerds will also, but like so will like the cool kid at the club and the DJ and like, you know, the skateboard. Everyone will, I think, understand this. And just seeing how quickly 6551 has been adapted now,
Totally.
I think it's catching.
Totally. It was actually funny. It was one of the ones where we talk about a lot of different token standards, and you can always tell when you say the idea, people go, oh, you could do that. You could do this. And you're like, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And then other ones, they're either like, and so. And I'm like, okay, no, it's cool because of, and so. And I'm like, you have an account that's abstracted that you can't be hacked because of, and they're like,
and?
Shut up. Yeah. Well, it's actually funny. Another thing that did happen last week, we're seeing something happen in Ordinals, right? Ordinal's been going crazy, right? And they can't stop. It's got to be different every week. We got to keep making them more advanced. So boom, this week, recursive inscriptions. And this is going to open up a whole million new ways. And this one, I mean, to me, so the quick thing is this, right? Ordinals, we're inscribing art actually onto single Satoshis or whatever, anything we want to actually inscribe here. The problem is there's space limitations. Someone figured out, well, let's just start building pointers to other stuff. So a 1 points to that, and that's pointing to a bigger thing. And now we just can fit whatever we want. But it's, you know, it's pretty complicated. And I think that we're kind of seeing like the split in Ordinals happen now. I know a lot of people are like, okay, this is getting too complicated for me and leaving. And then others are like what you're saying, yes, this is the best, and tripling down. And now they're making games. I mean, someone put Minecraft onto Bitcoin. I had it somewhere. Crazy stuff here. So yeah, kind of curious from some of the people, especially people like Troy, who like is deep in the community. Like, yeah, how are you seeing this recursive inscriptions affect stuff? Is it getting too complicated, or?
I mean, definitely. I mean, every day I'm just like, what is this? Okay, understand it. I'll get it before I even know why I'm getting it, and then you just have it, and then there's a new thing happening every day, and I'm there for it, and it's exciting. I'm deep into it. I own a project in that space, so I've got to be naturally. But the gaming stuff that's happening. But go ahead, Patrick. You wanted to say something?
I just love that there's Minecraft on Bitcoin now, and just how antagonizing that has to be for the Bitcoiners.
And there are the laser eyes that just, it's like, what? Like, let everybody play here because they should be able to if they can understand it, for me at least. So, okay.
I'm gonna hand
We get a
back
lot back there. Make sure we can hear every single person here because I know Van Gogh is in. We have 2 wireless somewhere. Okay, it's all good. Van Gogh, I know, is deep in. I see him degenning in the chat here. Okay, there they are.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Oh, come on. After we got him.
thank you so much. So I think it's pretty awesome because it surpasses the limitations of storage, right? So back in the youth days, being a degenerative artist, I made my quality probably 50 megabytes per image, right? So when ordinals and Bitcoin came out, I was just like, I love it. I love the technology. We talked about it here, about 40K inscriptions. So we were really early, right? So the fact that we faded it, we talked about hey guys,
Could all have
Thursday night,
Lambos.
right? Thursday night, we were like, hey, everybody, I recommend you figure it out. Take this weekend to figure out, install the node, all this stuff,
Came in here.
And we didn't fucking do it. I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody,
Well,
right?
yeah, that was wait,
so
that was
what
a
I'm saying
different-
is the fact that you can do links and stuff like that. I think it's genius. T.O., which I've met and I've hung out with fucking at NFTLA, Taproot Wizards and stuff like that. He was like, hey guys, anybody with NES and SNES emulators, who wants to put this on chain or on Bitcoin? So I think it's fucking awesome. And let's innovate, guys. Thanks.
Yeah. So, maybe. Okay. Now I gotta argue. The only thing is that when I remember this, we were here, early inscriptions, and what is everyone saying? Oh my God, they're putting art on Bitcoin. The maxis hate it, and we were like, that's great. They hate it. High five. Let's do it. Let's piss them off and put art. It was so simple. And then it was like, can you change it? No. Can you put a lot on there? No. It was so basic that the art just, it was captivating. And now when you come in there, what do you learn? There's BRC20s, BRC30s, BRC721s. Don't forget recursive inscriptions. Are you buying rare sats? Wait a minute. What about quantum sats? Oh, have you guys heard about? Dude, there's even more I can't even think of. They're happening so fast. Every week.
The thing they're working on that I'm interested in, and they're getting closer on this, is they don't have provenance right now. If I mint something on Bitcoin, there's no way to look on the chain and be like, that was from Patrick, which is kind of the critical element in art. So they're working on that, but when they launch that, that'll be interesting. But that is something in the works right now.
Have you
Can I
done
say on
anything
ordinals?
on Bitcoin?
No, because there's no provenance.
Cool.
Yeah.
He's a Provenance maxi. Patrick's not doing it unless they know
Provenance.
it's from me, Patrick. Yeah. Jeff's another brand new technology, ordinals. A couple brands already did jump in. Yuga jumped in right away. DGOD's jumped in right away. On-chain Monkey, a bunch of companies. Has it hit your radar? How do you think about even using this?
Am I did it hit your radar check?
Yes. You live in a world full of people that aren't over here nerdily talking about, guys, the group chat. It's a new talk.
Not even a blip.
Really?
Not
That's
even
amazing.
Not even a little hiccup.
We're still early.
Yeah.
Yo, Beacon, can I jump in
gotta
on the
say, I think
ordinals real quick? Oh,
yeah,
my
of
bad.
course.
Just on ordinals, I think for ordinals, we're at the Ether Delta stage, right? And Cryptopia stage of ordinals for the OG people that just these exchanges that are horrible, nothing works, you don't even know what to click, it's just super confusing. But when that was happening, there wasn't such a big community at every single step of the way, at every single tiny little update. So I think it's just so early. I was kind of in ordinals really, really early, and then I was super excited about them at first, and then that's what Jeff said when it got every new thing that came out. I was like, oh, bro, what? You guys changing it again? And I actually kind of just got exhausted and just took a step back from it. But I think that a couple of years down the road, it'll be interesting what they come up with. But I think people shouldn't get too emotionally attached on the roller coaster of it. Just let the devs just keep developing and then just keep one eye on it and just see what happens. But yeah, I think
it's necessary though, because y'all are pushing the envelope constantly further and further, right? Everyone might not get it. It reminds me of I don't know if anyone remembers Nike Talk.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Nike Talk days was 1,000 nerds in a forum, right, talking about shoes. No one understood. Everyone hated. And Nike Talk heads, when they heard that Foot Locker was getting a limited edition drop or something like that, it's yo, fuck that shit. No, it's just us doing this, But that's also what now empowers the entire culture and to see what it is today, So I think it's like a yin and yang. You know?
Totally. I will tell you that I was lurking, reading every single message on Nike Talk and on Super Future, just never saying a single word ever. And then I met a couple people, and I was like, they said something. I read every word you've ever said. And it was really odd. I'm like, hi, I know who you are. I've looked at your fit every day for the last 2 years, and it was like, yeah, it was pretty.
I think like Danny makes a really good point about this, right? It's early. The first NFT on ETH was Chemical Quantum in 2014. You don't have platforms really until 2018, 2019. It takes a long time to develop this, and you have to realize ordinals are 6 months old at this point. Like it just takes a minute, but don't expect it to get there, like ETH, and it'll get there. It'll get there. So this is just early. Like all the pain and everything else that's keeping everybody else away is probably a pretty decent opportunity for you to get in there and know that it will get fixed. So.
Yeah, and it's happening so fast on like a minute by minute basis, the updates in that ecosystem, where everybody in every Discord, unless you're the developer handing the alpha over or the news of the new update or whatever it is, you're doing it together. Like it's very helpful in like all the Discords that I've been in since ordinals were on the scene. So that's what I like about it.
Does that mean your ordinals are worth anything? No, but it's interesting technology. You should keep your eye on it.
You should know what's in your ecosystem.
So back to what Dana brought up was really great, and actually, like I definitely want to hear Jeff's perspective. Like, how do you keep excitement without just making it more and more complicated and getting rid of everyone? Right? You've had brands that have lasted for longer than every NFT project ever, literally. So, like, how do you keep excitement without making it more and more complicated?
Damn, that's a tough question. Authenticity. I mean, just keep putting in your own DNA into it. I think that makes it exciting. When you guys were talking, I was thinking about my co-founder, Benny. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but CryptoKitties, Cheese Wizards, early days. And, he was deep in it, right? And I guess kind of like you could say struggling in a way because all of his genius couldn't be manifested or applied to anything. Then he joined this small company called Dapper, which signed a thing with NBA. And that's like the culture element. So you're now able to take his brain power and apply it to the NBA and then hence Top Shot. And now he has a few Porsches, right? And life is good. Now, when he met me, he was like, wow, I can take all of the history that you have, me, what I've done, and then apply more of his thinking into it. And I think the true like positive yin yang is when those two brains come together. Like one without the other is not as powerful as it could be.
Totally. And yeah, just correct me if I'm wrong. Benny made this, I'm going to say it, 6511.
Benny and his studio, Future Primitive, invented 6551. But it was with a lot of temperature checking with me and the Stapleverse gang to see if there was even application for something like this. Because it takes time, money, and energy to invest into the development of this thing. And I'll tell you the story. I was like, when he was sort of pitching it to me, I was like, this reminds me of when I was young, and I used to have a backpack with my spray cans in it, another backpack with my sketchbooks in it, and another backpack with my DJ equipment in it. And depending on where I would go, I would take the proper backpack. And I was like, maybe NFTs could be like that, where they have a backpack and you could put like, I want all my music NFTs in this guy. I want all my art NFTs in this chick, and I was like, that could really work. And he was like, he was blown away that I was making that relation to his technology, So that's when we were like, yo, this could actually work.
Yeah. Well, it's so good to have someone too. Like, that's what I always love is you find people who are OG, like devs in the space. And then when you connect them with someone who just, I'll tell you, when a dev says something and creators go, I have an idea. It's like, yes, the dev did it. When you have to go, and I'm a dev. So when you have to go, no, it's cool. I swear it's cool. Wait, no, you can do it. It's like,
I have the best Benny anecdote. Okay. So I was doing in the height of, like when it was starting to downturn the economy, right? I was doing spaces, people were interviewing me and they'd be like, and these were like normies that were like, Jeff, so, you've invested in Stapleverse, Sapiens, NFT. What do you say to people that are like, saying NFTs are dead and crypto's dead, like FTX and all that stuff? And so I asked Benny, like on the side, I was like, yo, when people like grill me like that and they say like NFTs and crypto are dead, what do you think I should say? What answer do you think I should give them? You should say, you're dead.
Benny, Jesus. Nice.
You're dead.
Yeah. Well, it is funny because I have my friends always love to ask people like, "Hey, how's your NFTs doing?" Because you only see the bad news, right? And I
Yeah.
was just telling them like, I know. I'll talk to a friend tomorrow, and he's gonna go like, "How's it going?" I go, "A picture of a goose sold for $6 million." He goes, "Oh my God, it's still happening." I go, "Yes!" Like the news is not gonna keep saying, "Here's the cool stuff. Here's the cool stuff."
Yeah.
The best news is always this scammer, So.
Yeah, but you know what the most promising silver lining thing about that story is? I still hang out with friends to this day. Obviously I have a brand. It's 25 years in. Designed sneakers sold at Sotheby's for $100,000. I'll still go out to dinner with friends, and they'll be like, "So Jeff, how's that T-shirt thing going? How's that painting on sneakers business?" And I'm like, I still have to prove this shit to you? Fuck. So by the time I have to prove NFTs to them, they're gonna be their children will be dead. How long is it gonna take for you?
Yeah, 100%. People are rioting for my stuff.
Yes.
Okay, we're at
It's
the
on the
riot
front
level.
page. It's
Yeah, it is the whole idea you can convince somebody or you can convert people to NFTs is completely misguided. And you just see so many people waste so much time and energy trying to get people to understand what we're doing here. What you actually really need to do is just have a couple more $6.8 million goose sales, then people on their own be like, yeah, I should actually look into this. And it's not until people actually take the initiative on their own to figure this out, do they actually come over and kind of doing the front facing,
so.
how to evangelize this just doesn't work. People have their opinions, but they'll come over when they see a real reason, generative art goose sales. So,
I mean, well, you probably went through something similar, Jeff, at one point where it's people are like, "Oh yeah, streetwear. Oh, you're gonna collab with," and then one day it's like, "Okay, well that's Coca-Cola." So that's kind of a big brand that sells everywhere, you know. But there was definitely a point where all the streetwear brands are putting offensive things on T-shirts. That's it, and it's like soon this is gonna be branding with Coca-Cola and Hello Kitty, and So how did you bridge that even
Well, I mean, this week, I'm really proud to say that I'm on Wired in their tech support series, right? And it's Ask a Sneaker Expert. So all of my homies that are doctors and neurologists, they love Wired.
Yeah.
And I'm I send them the link, and I'm like, "Oh, funny that Wired would interview me about sneakers. I wonder why that happened, And they're just like, "That is interesting. Why did that happen?" So I'm always trying to bridge the gap between. It's funny that we talk about the gap between Web3 and Web2, because I've always been trying to bridge the gap between street culture or anti-establishment culture and the man, right? And really, I always poise myself and imagine myself as a mole inside of corporate America, seemingly wanting to do good for the man, but really I'm infecting them with street culture, and not in a bad way, in a win-win way, But I don't want to do it in a way where I'm trying to dethrone them. I'm no, let me use your speaker system and your distribution points to broadcast what I want to broadcast, Yeah.
Totally, yeah. I mean, you're doing it too, in the Web3. How are the brands responding to you? Because you've already done Web2 stuff, so they'll do anything right, probably. My guess, your Rolodex is good.
Yes.
But in Web3, are they hey, could we do a Web2 instead? Or
last year, it was all that. I have the Rolodex of Web2 brands. Pretty much anyone we want to work with, we can work with. Then I'm hey, have you heard about crypto and NFTs and Web3? They're let me talk to compliance about this and risk assessment department. No, we're not allowed to do that, So I was I get it. So I'm slowly trying to drag people over. But Sapiens is so cool because what I've seen with the click in Sapiens is that once we release this, people were asking us to join into Sapiens, which was really cool. Last week we just did Erykah Badu's video.
Jesus.
Yeah, you can equip an Apple onto your Sapiens, and those who have Erykah Badu's Apple have exclusive access to her video. Yes.
That's crazy. I didn't even hear that. Dude,
And
why
we
were you
didn't-
talking about Spaces, Thread Guy?
We didn't.
Talked about it on the podcast, Began.
Okay, good. I haven't heard it yet, okay? I was just downstairs. Good.
Yeah. But stuff like that it's just been awesome to see.
Yeah. I was going to say, even with Sapiens, you're doing stuff where you actually are mentoring people as well, correct?
Yes. That's the level up on Sapiens, yeah.
Okay, so can you actually break that down? Because
Yeah.
truthfully, a lot of people here actually run projects and, everyone's trying to
Yeah, so
level up themselves.
I've spent 20 years collaborating with a brand. We release something, and then you as the consumer gets to just buy it, and that's it. But I found that a lot of kids, whatever kids means, right? Young people, creative people, right? You could be a 45-year-old kid. They actually wanted to learn how a collaboration happens, right? From the very genesis beginning, how do you identify who you're going to collaborate with? How does it work? Who asks who? How are the deal terms set? The whole thing. And so what I want Sapiens to do is if you hold a Sapiens of a collaboration that I've done with a partner, you actually get to mentor and learn with us about how the collaboration works. That's actually only level 1. What I found is that a lot of people have interest and they want to observe, but not everyone wants to actually get their hands dirty and participate. Some people are scared, you know, like we're probably going to do audience Q&A at some point, and some people have a question in their head, but they don't have the wherewithal to raise their hand, stand up, and ask the question. That's like another step up. So we made that level step up called C division, where if you're a kid and you actually want to participate, you can actually now work with me and the collaboration partner to work on the next iteration together, the three of us, three-way with the group, yeah. And it's all through Sapiens as sort of the pass. So that was really something that, an unlock that I just felt like with the Rolodex that I have and the reputation that I have in the industry, this was something that was really ownable by us.
Totally. And I was thinking like with Web3, we're always like, oh, we can token gate stuff. It's like, well, token gate for what? I'm like, more one-on-one experiences or experience with smaller groups of people to like learn.
Yes.
If you actually have the time and I can actually sit with someone, you know, talking to you, I learned more, you know, in 5 minutes than on YouTube for 12 hours. How to start a streetwear brand. Like it's not working for me right now.
Totally. I mean, I'd like to see by raise of hands if anyone in the room is familiar with Staple pre-Web3. Like, did you know about, okay. So you've known my career before, right? But you've never probably sat in a room with me
100%.
before this, right? Mm-hmm. You've never been on a Twitter Spaces with me before, but now in Web3, it's all possible and it's all doable. And thank you, man. And I just want to do it in Web3 for some reason. And for some reason on IG, I don't want to hop on an IG live with a fan, but in Web3, I do want to interact, you know? I don't know why, I can't quite articulate why that energy is like that, but I just feel like, oh, I know why. I thought about this. I didn't have the answer. Nice. It's because we're all in the Wild West. We all have a machete in our hand, and we're just fucking weed whacking our way through. And when you're in that mentality, I need to be like, dude, can you help me? Because I'm lost, you're lost. Totally. Let's just like blaze this trail together. You know, that's why there's that like community.
I was thinking about this yesterday. I was thinking, you know, 3 or 4 years in this space, like I haven't seen some of my best buddies face or heard their voice in the Discords, and like I'd probably like die for that. It sounds silly, but I'm just saying like you go to war and you lose together, you win together, whatever, and it's just like your Discord buddies, and it's like a lot of love in there. The memes.
So great example is Bobby Hundreds and I. So Bobby and I came up in a similar era in streetwear, and we were like fairly tight, you know, like hung out a lot, talked a lot, because we were blazing a trail in streetwear. Then streetwear became a multi-billion-dollar industry. It was yada yada yada. Now, all of a sudden, I mean, we haven't really broken bread for like damn near 15 years, Bobby and I. Yeah, we just sort of like did our thing, respect for each other, whatever. Then Web3 happened, and it's all of a sudden like it's almost like we got lost in the forest at one point, figured our shit out, then got lost again, and we were like, oh shit, Bobby, what up? Do we make a left or a right here? You're here too? You're here too? Let's go, you know?
You got a compass?
Exactly. So it's been really fun. Yeah.
And it reminds me a lot of Web3.
Early agenda days, right?
That's when everyone was figuring
exactly.
out calling everyone building stuff. And when you and I met, you were like, I'm just doing this.
I probably had a 10-foot by 10-foot booth with a clothing rack in the back.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Web3 because at that time, everyone was learning what they were doing. And at the same time, it's like you were willing to talk to anyone about what you were building because you were so passionate about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that passion, not that it falls, but when you start getting picked up by everyone, it's very easy to kind of go, of course you love this. Of course, everyone loves this. But it's like you had to grind first, and I feel like those early, even Andy and I Am King, think what Andy's done and what he's even done in Web3. I mean, he owns Bored and Hungry, right?
Yeah, yep.
But Andy was grinding at Agenda with Bobby and you and everybody else, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
But it's like there's so much streetwear culture in Web3 because that was this taboo space where people were making fun of it. People were saying it's not going to last, and it's the same thing with art here.
Yep. Thank you for that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I remember, first of all, I remember my dad making fun of me for buying too much on sneakers. And then I remember trying to explain to him when Hundreds did the collab with Disney and the forums were on fire.
Yeah.
And I was on like for days straight. And he's like, what is going on? And I'm like, everything's changing. You don't know. Listen, streetwear's coming. It's with Disney. And he's like, you lost your mind. And it was like, like you weren't seeing big major brands like collabing like that. And now it's like, we're in Web3 begging for the opposite. We're all like, please, big brands, come in, work with us, yes.
Yeah.
And like streetwear early, a lot of it was like pushing people out, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. And the equivalent of what you're saying at Agenda, it's like, you know, the zenith of that was like, let's say the pigeon on the Nike Dunk, right? even though like today, people can say that was a legendary moment. At the time, it actually wasn't a legendary moment. It was a risk on both of our parts, because I could have done a deal with Nike and streetwear could have been like, yo, you're a sellout. Nike could have done a deal with me and shareholders would have been like, what the fuck are you doing with this fucking Chinese kid, right? Like, so like it was risky on both parts. It's easy, hindsight 2020, to be like, yo, that was a legendary move y'all did, and so I'm always looking for those opportunities. And like the fact that I can sit here now and have a Meta pigeon on my chest with Artifact and a 9DCC G Money pigeon on my hat and the Nike pigeon dunk is like, that's the story, you know what I mean? Like the whole lineage of it is the amazing part.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Also, it's crazy. We haven't even talked about this yet here too. Because like this is actually wild. I was laughing because like I was like, oh, Jessica, the show. I'm like, oh, Venturing came in the show, and he's like, yeah, we have a collab coming. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because literally every time I talk to him, he's like, I got a new job, and it was just like, literally, you actually want to talk about it? How'd you guys actually link up originally?
How did G Money?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting story because I went to VCon.
Yeah.
We met the day before VCon at Bobby Hundred's book signing. And then we all flew out to VCon the next day, and I met you there. And I didn't even know that we were doing a collab with you until you told me that we were. And then, like, the day after, G Money's like, we're doing this collab with Jeff Staple. And I was like,
nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
I like that G Money was keeping his lips sealed.
Yeah.
Even to his
team.
No,
even to his own team.
Yeah, I think G Money and I met, probably we crossed paths at NFT NYC 2 years ago. And this is what I always love to do. Just like, let's just hop on a video chat. Like, especially in Web3, I just like to see people's faces just to make sure you're not AI, like a robot, or like, not getting catfished or some shit, like, okay, cool. And I'm still old school in the sense that like I vibe check with people when I talk to them. And G, as you know, he's a real dude. You know what I mean? Like he's a smart, like he has a persona, but when you actually talk to him, he's a really down to earth cat, And that's what I felt. He was really respectful, really humble. And we just started brainstorming on like what a collaboration could look like. And actually, low key, we were supposed to do this collab like at the end of the year, but then Paris Fashion Week is next week. I'm going, he's going. And we were just like, I remember we were like, should we actually, this was like a month ago, like 1 month ago.
It was quick.
When we were like,
quick.
should we try to do something for Paris Fashion Week? And you could see like both of our respective teams like being like, no, don't make us do this. And we're like, yeah, we should. And so we're going to drop this hat next week at Paris Fashion Week.
Sick.
That's
awesome. That's so sick.
Yeah, it's so sick.
If anyone wants to buy me a flight to Paris, okay, I'll pick that up. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. You got a question?
Good. I'm Ed, if you didn't know. I'm sorry.
Evelyn, what's up?
Let's go, homie. One, I'm glad to see you here. Glad to see everyone here. I think I'm probably going to bring the spice to this conversation, because why not? To be quite honest, I don't think the space respects streetwear enough. I don't think they respect the culture enough. So I think a lot of times when we're talking about, oh yeah, we have this and we have that, you've done a lot where you put your name and, there is a certain type of influence and fame to it. That's a good thing. But, I think a lot of times too, people don't understand the work that you've done, right? And the culture that comes with it, right? The culture in streetwear. We were supposed to talk about this on the Twitter space, which will happen soon. But like, the issue with the space is that they think, we can even talk about the sneakers, right? Oh yeah, flip culture. It's deeper than the flip culture when it comes to the sneakers, right? You legit have people buying sneakers because, we want to be a part of this movement, right? Streetwear was movements, it's movements.
Yeah.
And so when you have spaces like, in the NFT space, you're like, oh yeah, we got this. It's deeper than that. And I think we don't respect it enough because we don't know about it. A good amount of people in the space don't have the knowledge about it.
Yeah.
I do because I'm from the streets. I grew up on that. I knew you before this space, right? So, but not everyone did. Not everyone does have that, have that experience or has that, understanding of what deep culture is when it comes to the sneakers, to the shirts, and why people would wear them, and what that, like, how the stances that you would make with wearing them and stuff like that. So, to me, I guess my question is, how do you feel about the culture when it comes to legit streetwear in the Web3 space, and how can we change it to where it's actually being respected?
I mean, I greatly appreciate what you're saying. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
But I also don't feel like I deserve that in a weird way. Yeah, like I'm not walking into the space thinking like on some like, do you know who I am type shit. I feel like I need to earn my way
absolutely.
in.
I think that's why you're the homie. But like, you know, there are people who are like, you know, definitely like, oh no, that's him. And I mean, you've done work, and I don't want to take that away from you. Like, I think you have, and a few others who are legit have done things for streetwear prior to this space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, what I'm really getting to is more so people understanding, like it's deeper than just, oh yeah, a brand, right? It's like, oh, a collab.
Yeah.
Like there are stories to like what you're doing. There is a reason why you decided to go into streetwear versus commercial, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a reason. That's an activism within itself. There was
Yeah.
a reason why you decided to like, hey, I want to collab with Nike, even though I'm not sure if people are gonna rock with this or whatever, but maybe I'm staying the stance with doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's stories with this, and I feel like sometimes we're not willing to go deep into those stories in this space, which we should, because we're disruptors. Like,
Yeah.
I get really tight, because I'm like, yo, we're all disruptors. People hate us all the time. Outside of Web3,
Yeah.
you're talking about, oh, we're doing this. People are like, get the hell away from me. Right?
We're-
And that's
we're
what-
kindred
what-
spirits,
you
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like, I just feel like we need to have those stories matter.
Yeah.
We're not willing to say them enough.
It goes both ways. Like on the one hand, yes, I would love it if people did their homework and did the research, but it's also my responsibility to maybe be better at like speaking about it. You know, like not everyone is fucking Gary Vee that like could just go 20. No, I'm not saying that, but like he's really good at 24/7 talking about what he's done. Right? Can we all agree with that? Yeah, he's like a pro at that.
Gary can talk about himself.
I look at his shit and I'm like, man, I wish I was this good at talking about my own shit. You know, like I need his megaphone. But no, I think it goes both ways. Like if I would implore that people do their homework. You talked about flip culture. If you're flipping something or if you own something that has greater value than what you paid for it, yo, great. But do some homework and figure out maybe why that occurred and the history behind it and how, you know, traditional art did that, sneakers did that, fine art did that, watches did that, you know, and why maybe now that's happening with your digital art as well, you know?
It's like where you go to like learn these stories. And sometimes in Web3, we're always talking about literally what's happening that week. So it's like, I want to tell you a story about a sneaker drop. It's like, I need to make money today. What is dropping right now? Let's talk about that.
That's not like that's the motivator though. Like if the motivator is, oh, I want to know about the story, then you're gonna be willing to seek that versus, oh, I want to seek this money.
Yeah.
Which I mean, to be quite honest, I mean that is the space, right? Yo, we need to make that bag real quick. Which I mean, hey, make your money, but also learn some history.
Yeah, learn something along the way.
Learn something. I mean, why not?
Yo, I gotta disagree with Ed actually, because it's.
Well, we fighting then.
Oh, we fighting.
Here we go.
Let's go.
Yeah, so it's like he came up into this spot, man. It's like a whole new tech. There's like the merger of technology and streetwear, so it's like a whole new avenue. Like you said, you're cutting through the wilderness and machetes. This trail hasn't been like set yet, so it's like he came here early. He was with the culture. He was with Artifact before doing like the meta pigeon, before doing the.
I think you missed me though, because I'm not coming for him. I'm coming from mostly us.
Los is defending you. Don't worry, he's got your back, right?
I'm not coming for him. I'm coming for people that are legit saying, oh yeah, streetwear this and that. But like you can't say streetwear and not know what it is, you know. I think a lot of times people love to say words because people like to hear themselves talk or just say words, but they don't know the meanings to it, and that's okay. But you should know the meaning, and that's what I'm saying. Hey, do some research, learn some things. Like you do all that research for that blockchain, do some research on that culture that's going to be on that blockchain.
Yeah, so maybe actually, well, Jeff, you've actually done like more content than maybe anyone actually about streetwear, right? Podcasts, videos, interviews. There's so much, right?
Yeah.
So what do you suggest? Someone
I'm
wants to
top
get
three.
educated. Yeah, you are. Yeah. Like, what should you learn about you? It's like, I don't know. It's a lot of history, you know.
Well,
so,
you said no shilling. Am I allowed to shill?
yeah, you're allowed to shill.
Okay,
Only
fine.
one person can shill. Jeff, that's it.
New rule. I, specifically for this purpose, I created a podcast on Hypebeast.
Yep.
Called The Business of Hype. And to me, it was like, what would happen if Fastco, Inc., Forbes, and Hypebeast had a child, right? And it's like, because when I grew up, like, how did I learn about like what LRG was doing, or how did I learn about Mark Echo or Stussy, right? These were like just nebulous things that there was no textbook for. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to talk to the founder of Hypebeast, Kevin Ma, and I'm going to be like, I want to make that textbook in a podcast format. And so we've interviewed over like 120 people, from like Jerry Lorenzo to Sean Witherspoon to like, you know, John Jay, like everybody in the industry. And the beautiful thing is when I talk to them, it's like peer to peer versus journalist to subject. So their guard is completely down. I just put a Zoom mic on the table and we just riff. and the conversations just feel like you're like a fly on the wall listening to two homies just talk about the industry. And I would suggest if you want to learn anything about this, just dip into any of those episodes, and it's freaking amazing.
Well, first of all, 100% agree. I was setting you up because I listen to it all the time. It's like my favorite Saturday morning podcast,
Thanks.
coffee, clean the house, and just like learn something. So super, super sick. Definitely suggest that. We got a couple questions, so I want to make sure right back there.
Hey, I'm Penelope, and one of the Cyberca twins. And I just wanted to let you guys know, like, there is new streetwear cultures coming in. New movements require new money, and also movements require funding. So one of the things I want to bring up is, I guess it's LGBT month. And I'm guessing you guys know Theo's drops coming in soon. So are you guys aware about Theo's shoe drops coming in?
Yep.
You get Adidas.
Oh, yeah, actually.
I think that's in our topic list.
Boom,
right?
actually, if you guys can see.
Nice segue.
Oh, yeah, Adidas Fiwo. This is actually really interesting, too, because Fiwo's already done a collab with Artifact, now with Adidas. And this is the thing I like to see actual people do is collaborate with multiple people, because Artifact's Nike. Right, so now this is Adidas, right? You've done every single shoe there is. How is this even possible? How do you how can you collab with someone else and Nike still be happy, right? Like, do you? Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak for Fuo, who's like a good friend of mine, but
sick.
Fuo collaborated with Artifact pre-Nike.
Yes, pre-Nike.
So there's probably no sort of contract in place, I would guess. And Adidas just showed love, and I think I often cite Fuo as somebody. You talk about Pride Month and LGBTQ, Fuo is not a person that is set up for success in Web 2. It's only Web 3 that allows someone like Fuo to be who he deserves to be. You know what I mean? Like, he checks off all the boxes of marginalization in Web 2, but it's just so awesome to me that he's a king in Web 3 world. And I hope he can, with the Adidas collaboration, start to spread that goodwill back into the Web 2 world as well.
Totally. Yeah, this is a beautiful story. And cool sneaker, and that's a great way of bridging people in.
Saying it another way, if Fuo existed as Fuo, but there was no Web 3, and he just tried to get an Adi deal, he would have never gotten one. Facts.
Totally. Yeah, super interesting. Yeah, I'm more interested. Like Fuo probably could have reached out to Artifact, right? Probably could have still done a deal, right? How do you
want to know why that?
Yeah, how do you decide that? How do you decide actually? You're like Fuo could definitely do Artifact first one, amazing, right? Nike's hyped still. And so how do you choose? When do you choose to work again with the brand? When do you choose to go with a new one?
This is recorded, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. PC hat on now, okay. The PC answer is that, listen, when there's a collaboration, there's multiple parties at hand, right? And each party has different shit going on in their lives, right? So maybe Fuo did reach out to Artifact and say, hey, I'd love to do another shoe with you guys now that Nike's been signed. And maybe Artifact was like, wow, Fuo, we're really busy, but we're doing this other thing, and maybe later on, at this month and year, we can do something. And maybe Phil was like, oh, I can't do something that month, that year because of this other thing. It's got to mix and jive, right? And so maybe while that was happening, Three Stripes was like, hey, you want to check? And maybe Phil was like, oh, that's a nice check, and Adidas is a great brand. I don't know that's how it went, but I'm just saying, no, I honestly don't. I'm totally, riffing. But I'm just saying, in my experience, people ask, yo, why haven't the Hundreds and Staple done something together? Y'all look like good friends. It's we've actually, Bobby and I have sat at a conference table and discussed what we should do, and it hasn't happened just because of timing. Yeah. And not because we don't like each other. We obviously do a lot, respect each other a lot, and I would love to, but it's like a date. Dating, timing has to work out right for both parties. That's what it comes down to. It's chemistry.
It is good that there's Adidas and Nike both kind of fighting over the top talent, and also Sotheby's. That's going to keep Christie's on their toes too. So regardless of that decision, I think it is really good to see. But I also agree with what Ed was saying too. It's all great, Nike, Adidas, Louis Vuitton, whatever. I also want to see some real counterculture shit, some East Village 80s, 70s energy, where it's we haven't really seen much of that. It's all very corporate structures. I want to see some people come out with some crazy shit where it's completely stuff you're not supposed to say or do, politically incorrect or just Rage Against the Machine type shit. Because right now it's very all get our thing, and then we got Connect Wallet, and you can mint this thing, and we'll send you a fucking $180 jacket.
You want to see some real punk shit?
Yeah, some punk shit. Because nowadays all the punk shit, people say, oh, this is counterculture, but it's not. It hits every single narrative that the mainstream just keeps saying. This is what's cool. That's what's cool.
I agree.
So there needs to be some My Lady energy, but for streetwear, some just like shit that people don't like, that corporations don't like. I want to see some of that.
Well,
But
Milady does.
yeah.
If you guys don't know, Milady in every other collection has the craziest streetwear references ever buried inside. It's pretty. They're pretty soaked in there actually here. And actually, it was funny. I think there's two things, right? So early streetwear, a lot of it was like, I'm putting something on a T-shirt that's like, I'm flipping a logo,
Flipping
I'm saying
logos,
fuck
yeah,
you,
yeah.
and it's like it is meant to like get in your face. And I don't necessarily want when you see fashion move forward, I don't want to say, okay, let's do that again, right? What is the new version of that? And even then, 9DCC doing stuff with like RFID chips and like interact with people and knowing that, boom, I saw him here. That's a new thing that never has been done. So I want to think about what is streetwear stuff that has not been done before, and let's not just be like, now you can buy the same shirt that Supreme released 10 years ago, but there's an NFT attached to it.
Mischief's kind of doing that shit.
Yes.
Would you say? What do you think about Mischief? Thumbs up.
Mischief is. I will fight for them all day because I talk about them every other month because it's like they do something wild and it hits the news. Like that's what matters here. So
I don't know how you can see a ferocious collab like this, and like Adidas is such a horribly corporate entity with a terrible track record for manufacturing.
Facts.
And
human rights.
And human rights issues up the wazoo. And we see them like using ferocious in Pride Month as like a way to wash themselves of those sins. And at the same time, we also see ferocious kind of like compromising themselves for giving into that and being like willing to produce with that, when the system that we built and like built ferocious would never have Adidas would never have loved this. Adidas does this because they think they can make way more money by doing this than by not doing it.
But by actually doing something like Pride Month and then saying, okay, great, well, companies now know we schedule it this month to support LGBTQ community. Well, at least they're supporting them. At least they've scheduled it and there's a time for it. And so FIWO doesn't get supported at all, or they set up kind of a hokey, Lockheed Martin Pride Month, thing,
I'm all for the Pride Month celebration, but at the same time doing that while also ignoring the human rights issues, while also ignoring the issues within Adidas corporate, where they just don't respect their artists by and large.
Okay, Jeff, let's get spicy. How do you think about those things?
I love your honest sentiment, honestly. It's good. It needs to be said. Adidas just a couple months ago sued the founders of Black Lives Matter because their logo infringed on the 3 stripes. Like, who? Yes, it's facts. I'm not making that shit up.
You look at what's happening, because I agree with you completely on this, and you just look at this and you just have to wonder how much of his decisions are being run by his handlers and so much by him. He's a 20-year-old kid. He doesn't know a lot of things. And when you have he's a WME, they're all the same, right? When you have that team telling you what to do, of course you're partnering with Adidas because they're giving you a check. And you get your check and they tell you you're doing a great job. But if you cut off people from the outside giving you actual feedback on, hey, this is how this actually looks, you get fucked long term, because you're going to end up making bad decisions. You're going to support a bunch of stuff you shouldn't support. And eventually you'll run out of steam, but they're not going to care because they already made their bag, and they'll just be another discarded child star.
Yeah.
Yo, on a positive note though, like you could kind of compare it to when you were saying with the streetwear collabing with Nike, right? Everybody in the street was like, yo, you're going with a corporate brand. So for him, I mean, it's a big step up, right? Like maybe it is Adidas, maybe there's another bad side, like the corporate side to it, but he's also partnering with Adidas. What he does, maybe ideally it's setting up for the next step after this, right? Maybe he uses this to get a bigger name, and then he goes on and does his own thing. So I think there's it's a tough way for us outside in looking on it. I think his core message, Adidas, right, is he's getting across what he wants to say, and he led that. And then I think what he does next, right, in his eyes, I think is pretty big.
There's two sides of that coin. Like even when Nike acquired Artifact, there was a lot of word that Artifact got the bum end of that deal. Artifact could have been their own $20 billion corporation if they just went on their own road, and Nike actually got a steal. There's people saying that too. Totally. But what's your name? Tom. What you're saying is absolutely probably true. There's a little bit of that happening, but to a fan, right? Regular FIWO fan who reads what are the headlines for FIWO? I don't know, 45 million art sale, right? 50 million. They have to ask how big of a check do you need? How much more do you need, FIWO? You just you're a 100 millionaire from your art. you know, like, and now Three Stripes is coming at you with like more money. How much exactly do you need, you know?
I think all of this is about kind of authenticity, integrity, and how to get your message out in the current age.
Yeah.
And my point here is, I feel like everything is so corporate and branded, and there's ways to do things. There's routines. You have teams handling you. That people who are just trying to do it on their own, they just have no idea what to do. And so you really have to make this big splash. So that's also, just circling back to your Sapiens thing, the whole mentorship thing. That's sick. Thank you. That's really cool. Because I feel like that's trying to foster the little guy. But
he's sitting in front of his art right now. He's trying to shield it. He's
that.
being subtle about it, okay?
Calling
him out. Okay, let's keep going.
Thank you, because that was very nice. My point is, do you see a way forward that's like punk and streetwear, right?
Yeah.
You weren't about the money. You were flipping logos because it's edgy, and you made a little money, but whatever. That's not the point. Everything's about the money right now. You talk about FIWO, their fans talking about the money, looking at the sales. Where are the people who don't care about that, and how do they grow and blossom?
It's pretty much every kid under 17-year-old right now doesn't care about the money, hates capitalism, wants to see the entire system crumble, doesn't want to buy a single thing, wants to thrift every single thing they wear, thinks that if you go into a store, you're a fucking loser, right?
How do you communicate with
Thinks
those guys?
Jay-Z is like the corniest person on earth because he owns a basketball team. So it's like that whole generation is amazing, and they want the system to topple. It's like kind of an amazing thing to see.
How do you talk to those guys though?
TikTok.
and
so I can
about
only
the
speak
dudes
for
out
myself,
grinding?
right? Like,
Yeah,
there
it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Great.
I think there's a good comparison though. Honestly, there's a really good comparison with Mr. Cartoon back in the day and Ferocious. People have to create an artist to make that a generational person to look up to. Not a lot of people care about art. They don't focus on art. They don't give a shit. As soon as you push it in their face, like someone like Ferocious, the next generation is going to love him because Adidas made them love him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Sidekick back in the day made Mr. Cartoon a household name.
Yeah, T-Mobile Sidekick, he's talking about the phone. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And you know what I mean, though, right?
I remember,
Where it was like,
yeah.
he was just a tattoo artist for celebrities, and all of a sudden he turned into everybody had to have this sidekick because it was the best one, and it was this artist, quote unquote. No one knew who he was. He started doing scions and everything else. So I just think like when you look at the way things are, back in the day I had a crazy conversation with this kid, Never Shout Never. He's in a band, right? And there was a conversation with MTV, and it was Never Shout Never or Justin Bieber. And they were making a decision of who they were going to make the new generation and what they were going to push at MTV. And instead of going with Never Shout Never and this Beatles kind of hippie narrative, they went with Justin Bieber and the pop narrative. And it crushed him. Him and I were talking for like years, and it's like whatever they push, whatever they're going to make in this narrative, that's what the rest of the culture for the next 5 years is pushing at.
Yeah.
So I think with FIWO, everyone's making him this next culture icon, which they should, because it's going to bring art back into the lives of people because of his story.
Facts.
New pop star is like
Yeah.
Web3 artists, basically, because all the money's gone from the art. No, I'm just saying, I think it's like the new pop stars. You know, FIWO is like a machine now, well-deserved because he got to that point and his art's amazing. But then the machine comes and you got William Morris Endeavor and you got CAA and the Shark Circle and they see, yo, this kid is going to fucking rake in money. So it's probably even a tough situation. I'm sure it's very stressful even for the artists. So yeah, I think they're doing the best they can. And we would all take an Adidas check. Everyone, you're lying if you say you would. So that's all I got to say about that.
I just want to jump in here really quick. Say I got to jump to catch a plane, but thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Fred. Thank you. The best, man. Yes, you got a couple time for a couple questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. So if anyone's got a question specifically for Jeff, we can do that here. We got someone right there. I'll just get you a microphone. Look, where's the? There we go. We got it right there. Boom.
Hello.
Hello. Keep that nice and close to you.
I wanted to add on to the conversation that you had and the other gentleman who was talking about the current state of the space and everything going on with like people not doing their homework. And I think to add to that, like a lot of people, it's like a sheep follow sheep type of thing right now. Whatever someone says is cool.
Definitely.
Is cool, or like 5 random people that usually run what's going on during a current moment, but I feel like later, like all my friends, as far as Artifact, Staple sneakers, all that, I have to show them. But they're big sneakerheads. They have all the shoes, but they had no idea, for example, like the Murakami drip sneaker was even a real shoe. So I'm saying when the people that actually care start to like buy these things and like get onboarded, I feel like Staple, Hundreds, all that stuff will be more appreciated, because right now it's more so like, I feel like a specific group rather than the people who care about that more in real life. So
yeah, man, keep doing it. Keep spreading the word, because you know what, like like that story you just said reminds me of the founder of Hypebeast. Like Hypebeast is the name of a culture, but it's also a business. Don't forget. And there was one single founder of Hypebeast, and that kid, Kevin, was saying exactly what you said. I'd be telling my friends about this Heineken dunk and like Kid Robot and all this shit, and all the friends would be like, "What are you talking about?" And that kid ended up starting Hypebeast. So take that energy and like manifest Hypebeast 2.0 for the culture, man.
Well, they do have Hype Moon.
If you were to drop a dunk tomorrow on the sneakers app, you already know everyone's waking up trying to get that shoe. But let's say in the Web3 world, you were trying to promote your new shoe, other people are going to be like, oh, the pigeon donkey thing is dropping tomorrow. But then the Staple one will probably have less attention, when in the real world, if it was reversed, you already know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say shout out to CloneX LA and Bad Take, and Dre Mill told me to say what's up and when collab.
You're lucky. We let him get off that one little. He went for it. I said I knew someone. I knew someone was going to go for it.
That wasn't a shield. That was a shout out. Yeah.
Wasn't too bad.
Until LeBron wore the Murakami, and then LeBron wore it.
Okay. Anyone else with specific questions too for Jeff? Oh, Tom.
So we did a lot of talking about history today. One history that I think is super interesting is the history of Nike. And Jeff, I'm kind of curious, considering how much time you have with Nike. Back when you started collaborating with Nike and working with Nike, I think Nike was a very different company than they are today. And I'm kind of curious, are you happy with how Nike has gone and where Nike has built the culture? And do you think that it's been a positive force overall?
Is this being recorded?
Yeah, it is. It is. Tom's trying to. He's our investigative journalist.
I know. Do you work for Nike?
Yeah. He works for Adidas, I think. But yeah, let's get this clip, Tom. Yeah.
How about Sapiens token holders get the answer upstairs? No, I'm just.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Am I happy with the way it's gone? I mean, me personally, not really, because I think the people who, damn.
He's trying to do more collabs with Nike, Tom. What are you doing?
You know what? You know what is? I know Barbara Walters. You know what's tough is that if you grow up today wanting a job at Nike, you grew up reading Hypebeast. You are a Hypebeast. 10 years ago, the people who were doing the things at Nike were creating it from scratch. They were the architects.
They were the artists.
Yes, and I was involved in that era, and it was an incredible time to be there. But now, it's like this. It's like 10 years ago when you looked at a Nike designer's like mood board, like what was around their desk, it was like architecture, medieval art, like technology, cars, all this shit, right? Now you go to a Nike employee's desk and you look at their mood board, it's Hypebeast screenshots. So they're referencing their own culture. It's like a circle jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like, and then now, right now, sorry, is that offense? But it's like a vacuum, you know?
An Ouroboros, a snake eating itself.
And you know, it's obviously had an effect, because even just this month, the Nike CEO said himself, our product is stale. Like, we're just running on fumes, retroing, and now our sales are going down. There's no innovation. So I can clearly say that because the CEO said it. But that's a byproduct of when you just keep referencing the same culture that you're sampling from. You know, it's like there's only so much you could do of that before the engine just runs dry. It's like DJ culture. You can't just keep, like, yeah, when you mixed two soul records together and made a hip hop track, that was really dope. But you can't just keep doing the same two soul tracks. You got to experiment. Like, let's pull in jazz. That was super innovative. Then like Aerosmith and Linkin Park. Wow, punk rock into it. Like that, now we're like advancing the culture. And sneaker culture has to do that, because it's just like referencing the same thing over and over again. So I liked it better back then because they were building. And I think there's murmurs of that at brands like Nike when, you know, Dot Swoosh and they try to do like Artifact. That shows initiative of like, let's see what beyond has for us, you know? Tough questions.
Totally. Mike?
Here's a soft one.
Thank you.
For the Sapiens mentorship thing, how do you apply for that, and can you talk about that more?
Yes. You don't have to apply for it. When we do a partnership, we're going to drop a digital asset that will, more often than not, but not always, have a physical mate to it, right? So if you have the digital asset equipped onto your Sapien, and if you could like click on that one with the apple in the hand, up, yeah. So this Sapien last week existed without the apple in hand. It was like just the body. When we did the drop with Erykah Badu, then you can now, I know this is blowing people's mind, but you could take the apple and have your Sapien hold on to it. It's fucking sick, and it's on chain. Like, I did it on Sapiens.xyz, hit refresh, and then on OpenSea, it like all of a sudden just popped up. It was the sickest thing. Now, by that happening, we can now identify those who have an apple can now enter into a mentoring session with, for example, in this case, me and Erykah Badu, or Rhymes Like Dimes, the artist in Erykah Badu, for example, right? So you can imagine every partnership we do, you're identified by your interest because it's literally on your body. A pigeon helmet, you know, like suspenders, like Oshkosh Bagosh suspenders. You know, this shows that I can now just like look at you and tell what your interests are. So you can now enter this mentoring session. It's token gated. That's open to everybody. That's like the observatory part of it. The next phase up is what we call C division. C stands for co-creation, community, and collaboration. And shout out to all the C students like me. 2.0 GPA in the house over here. So the C division is for people who want to go beyond observation and actually want to get their hands dirty and learn. And again, I said that earlier, it requires a level of courage for that to happen. So we also don't want to like, on the flip side, if you are someone who wants to get their hands dirty, you don't want to be in a room of like looky-loos. You know,
Yes.
you just want to like get to work. You know what I mean? So that's where C division comes in. It's going to be less people, but those people are now going to be saying, like in this Erykah Badu example, all right, your next video, instead of an apple, what can we do? How will the video look like? And like my dream is that those kids, a couple dozen, maybe it's only a dozen people, but me, the partner, and those kids will now be able to create the next iteration. So it's like low key, it's going to be like the first open source decentralized agency. And why, if you're a company now, why would you want to call like, you know, fucking gray advertising or, you know, BBDO, like where you just have like 30 fucking people making $300,000 a year that live in a fucking home in Long Island with 2.5 kids and a Volvo station wagon, trying to get them to tell you what the culture is about, when in Discord and like in Twitter, like look at our space, look at this room. This is the fucking culture. Why are you gonna pay them to do it? Like, you know, us. Yeah.
So is that like, how does that level work? Is it supply limited, or you get the apple in this case and you can join, or like
the C division?
Yeah. So
the C division is if 1,000 people got this apple and they entered the workshop, which is like the observational session, like just looking. If all 1,000 are really that like empowered and want to go in the C division, that can happen. I just expect that it will be less because most people want to observe, less people want to actually do, which is okay. Like,
so you're filtering just by engagement?
Yes, because there'll be
interesting.
multiple mentoring sessions. There'll be like dozens of them.
You're not going to show up in the last one and say, yo, put me in the C division.
But we will, yeah, exactly. But we will say, if you show up to all of these, that's number one prerequisite for getting into the C division. There probably will also be some form of a test, but not really a test, but like a simple form to show that you fucking care and that you could get out of bed and fill out a form. You know, like we just don't want people that are wasting everyone's time.
And you have to get a C on it to get in.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a great, AC, remember that idea. No A pluses. You got to get a C on it. You have to like strategically get shit wrong.
C's
and
get
stuff.
degrees.
C's get degrees. 100%.
That's true.
Yes. Beautiful. That was a good. That was a good.
Cool. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Lindsay?
Yeah. So Adidas was brought up a few times, and Eric Liedtke, I might butcher his
CMO
last
of Adidas,
name.
and
Right.
he has a brand now called Unseen.
Yes.
He has a new brand, yes.
Unswell or Unless.
Unseen. Unless. You're right.
It's Unless, but he was inspired by the Parley collab when Adidas launched their shoe made
Yep.
of Ocean's plastics, and
Yep.
he left a very high-paying exec position with Adidas and started his own collection. I was wondering if you've done anything with your brand to cater to the eco-conscious or the conscious consumer.
Yeah, not
At the Web3
So I
meetup.
have a brand called Staple. That's my streetwear brand. I recently am advising and co-founding a new brand called Proto Collective, Proto, which is footwear and clothing, all made in America. All the people that make the shoes and the clothes are compensated extremely well, and we will forever. It's in our mission mandate. The majority of the company will always be BIPOC LGBTQ. Always. Our CEO is black female. Proto Collective. There you go. I'm literally spieling the mission statement here.
We didn't know you had this company. I don't think Lindsay did either. She's
I
just
did
really
not.
into
Yeah,
the
a lot of
environment.
people-
So this is a natural shill.
No, a lot of people don't know that I do it. And there's my name right there. There's a lot of legends involved in this. But like these shoes that you're looking at right now, they were made in downtown LA completely, head to toe.
I love that. I applaud that. I think a lot of people would appreciate that.
Yes, and you see the red insole. What's really cool about the sock liner, which is actually, like, a lot of people don't know, but that sock liner in your shoe is actually the most important performative aspect of footwear, right? It's because it's actually the thing that your foot is touching 24/7 when you're wearing the shoe. So it's the most important thing. So, when you talk about things like Superfeet or Dr. Scholl's or like those performance things, that's the make it or break it for how your shoe feels on your body and what it does to your body, right? Our insoles is the only thing that's not made in America. They're made in China. That's because the complete insole is made of trash from other brands making shoes in China. So we take the trash from like Nike and Adidas and we make our insoles out of them. And that's the only thing that's made in Asia. It's pretty dope.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. That is super interesting. Nice.
Love that.
Okay, this is a weird foot shoe thing, and I'm super
Okay,
curious.
that's
if
like
you've heard
too
of it.
weird.
Not
I'm
in a weird sexual way, just biomechanically.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the barefoot shoe movement at all?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Are you guys? Have you heard of any like? I would love to see Nike or Proto or any big brand do like a barefoot shoe that's actually healthy for you.
Yeah, I've tried it. So the verdict is still a little bit out because the problem
It's
is
on Feet Finder.
Yeah, the problem is the surf. Like if you imagine you went to like Abbot Kinney barefoot in downtown, like right here in Venice, like you'd have multiple diseases by the time you came back from that coffee, right? Exactly. So you still have to protect yourself. And there's a couple of interesting brands that I've experimented with. One is called Earth Keepers. Earth Keepers is pretty much like the most minimal thing that you could. Vivo Barefoot's another one. It's thicker, but Earth Keepers is like literally the thinnest piece of rubber, and then it's got a copper plate underneath that like sort of ionizes and connects with your foot. It would be the best if you just did all your workouts barefoot. I always do my workouts barefoot, but yeah, you still have to protect yourself from like.
Absolutely. No.
Yeah.
I'm super into this. Look at what I'm wearing. These are like the cheap version
Yes,
of barefoot.
we did
shoe.
There's a Staple Fayway, by the way.
Dude, is there?
Yes.
Ooh.
Come
Okay.
on, man.
I'm
You
gonna
didn't
check
know?
that out.
Every shoe people
The
are wearing right
that's
now,
the
there's a Staple
original-
collab.
Should he check
somewhere.
under his
That's the
seat?
original Shaolin monk
Uh-oh.
shoe.
Yes,
That's
their
what Shaolin-
advertising is like 90s fisheye with monks. It's
Yeah,
the best.
yep.
But what I'm saying is like, I only wear barefoot shoes because I had a bunch of health problems and wearing this type of shoe works for me. So, but like, there's no barefoot Nike. Like, I want the nice shoes. I want the aesthetics. I don't want to wear these gross Earth shoes.
Yeah.
Can you solve that, Proto?
I'll try. I'll work on it.
Okay.
The reason why Nike won't do it, it's because when you've invented Nike Air, it's hard to like get away from that.
Yes,
Like,
it's totally the opposite.
It's totally the opposite.
So they
yeah,
have to
and even
admit
like
fault.
On Running and Hoka, they're all about maximal cushioning, which it works for some people, but it doesn't work for me. Yeah,
okay.
totally.
It's cool you're aware of it at least.
Yeah, very.
He knows everything about shoes. And actually, with that, Jeff, before we wrap up, you want to shill anything last? Tell what you're working on, what people should be excited most about?
Definitely Sapiens.xyz. Highly suggest you just learn about what we're doing and check it out. The other thing on the complete opposite end of that spectrum is I just came out with a book, an in real life book, printed pages bound, made by Rizzoli of Milan. So it was really crazy because when I was building Stapleverse, I was also making my book. And the book is made by this really old Italian publishing company. They make books for like Rembrandt and Monet and shit like that. And so I'm sitting here like talking to my Web3 team about, you know, Stapleverse, at the same time talking to the Italian printers about like registration and 300 DPI and cropping and the gutter and all that shit. And it was so crazy because I'd be having these meetings in the same day, and I'd have to just switch from like 300 years in the past to 100 years into the future, like in the matter of hours, you know. But those are the two things that I'm most excited about, is the fact that I'm on a book tour right now. I'm sort of traveling all over the world promoting the book and building the future at the same time. So past, present, and future.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thanks to Venturine. Threadguy had to go. Thank you, Patrick. Absolutely amazing. Some of us, we're all going to hang out after, maybe get some drinks.
Fucking
Bye, Twitch
legendary.
chat. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, one more time. Bye. That was it.
Let's go.